Hello everyone, Ember here, and welcome back to a new video. In this one, I would like to take a look at a Terapagos deck for the Twin Battles format. So the new trainer trial is of course Twin Battles, and you're allowed 2 copies of every card in your deck, no more, no less, which is, yeah, it can be a bit annoying sometimes, but I do think this format has at least some more potential than Singleton, because I felt that Singleton was just a wee bit too limiting in the fact that you were very much cornered into playing the very best cards, like the very best draw support and things. So I think Twin Battles at least has a little bit more potential, even if the decks do feel a bit, familiar to standard. But yeah, the main purpose of this deck, of course, is we're just using Terapagos' 2 attacks. Crown Opal can wall out non-colorless basic Pokemon, but your main attack really is Unified Beatdown, which does 30 damage for each of your bench Pokemon, which is of course quite nice with Area Zero. Now, just like standard, we can play support engines like Noctowl, which allow you to search your deck for 2 trainer cards if you have a Terra Pokemon in play, which is a very powerful ability in this format. Also got Fan Rotom in here, which not only acts as like a decent setup, well, it's like mainly here for the ability Fan Call, but Assault Landing can be a decent attack if you have to use it in a pinch, so that's nice to have as well. So that's Fan Rotom. Also got Dodrio in here, which is like, I guess, like a secondary main attacker really, but also a pseudo draw engine. Because Zooming Draw says once in your turn you can put a damage counter on Dodrio, and then you get to draw a card. And then Ballistic Beak does 10 damage, and then 30 more damage for each damage counter on this Pokemon. So we'll definitely recommend Dodrio basically as a single prize attacker. I did also want to try out some new stuff though from the set Journey Together, so I also added Hop's Cramorant. But to be honest, if I'm being, completely honest with things, I haven't actually needed to use Cramorant all that much in games. So it's honestly one of these things which I could definitely see just being swapped out for the Bouffalont. Which, for those of you who don't know, Bouffalont was around with the free Terapagos deck when the set came out. But this Bouffalont basically just has the ability Curly Wall, which says if you have at least one other Bouffalont, so you can only run 2 Bouffalont in Twin Battles anyway, but still pretty good, and your basic colorless Pokemon will take 60 less damage from attacks. So it won't protect Noctowl or Dodrio, but it will protect, Terapagos, basically. So quite a nice ability to have, and I could honestly see myself swapping out Cramorant for Bouffalont at some point, really. Plus maybe some big charms just to make Terapagos a bit more tanky. But that's kind of it for the Pokemon, like Fezandipiti, some additional draw power. Ogerpon is quite cool here. Not really as like an attacker, but Teal Dance is also just a bit of extra draw power. And you can also attach a grass energy to it, and then, do things like Energy Switch onto Terapagos to use Crown Opal as early as turn 2 with things like Crispin, so that's pretty cool. As for the trainers, now for some reason today, TCG Live is playing up and glitching out, so some of these trainers won't be visible. But this one is Ultra Ball, so we've got 2 copies of Ultra Ball, 2 copies of Hop's Choice Band, to help out with Cramorant. Although again, I do think this could be swapped for Big Charm. Also got Xerosic in here because I've noticed there is some players in Twin Battles who get very greedy with their draw power. Like they play loads of things like Nemona and stuff, and it's like, okay, well, you want these massive hand sizes, I'm just going to try and punish that. So Xerosic is quite a fun option, although you could use hand trimmers if you prefer. Also got 2 copies of Arven here because I just think Arven's still very much a staple in this format. 2 copies of Earthen Vessel just because we have a bit of a weird energy count. 2 copies of Crispin for some energy acceleration. 2 Buddy Poffin to find those low HP basics. Also got 2 copies of Counter Capture. I don't know why TCG Live today has decided, by the way, that a bunch of cards should remain invisible. Might have to try and do something about that before I record gameplay, but yeah, it's a bit annoying. Also got 2 copies of Super Rod just to recover some Pokemon, but you could use Night Stretcher if you really wanted to, but it's nice being able to get back a full Dodrio line and a basic energy, so something to bear in mind. 2 copies of Iono, 2 copies of Area Zero, which is kind of crucial. Also got 2 copies of Surfer, which is, it just means that, yeah, you can play more switches, but also you have this additional draw effect. So you're not just running like 4 switch in the deck, really, because the deck doesn't need 4 switch, but 2 switch and 2 Surfer helps out a lot. So if your opponent tries to like boss stall a Noctowl or something, you can just get it out of their active spot. Also got 2 copies of Boss's Order, and then 2 copies of Energy Switch, which is an important card. Because, as mentioned earlier, if you want to use, Ogerpon's ability, then at least you can energy switch the grass energy over to Terapagos and use Crown Opal. So just something to bear in mind. As for the energy split, I've got 5 grass just because Ogerpon's a bit more important. 3 lightning, and 2 water. So like you could mess around with these counts, but I think 5 grass is pretty decent just for Ogerpon at least. So yeah, that's the Terapagos Twin Battles deck. Kind of like just keeping things fairly simple and straightforward. I do have some more fun ideas for Twin Battles involving the fossils and stuff, but as it stands for now, I just wanted to play with a deck that was a bit more straightforward, just to like ease myself into the format and get a better idea of what everyone else is playing, and also, you know, just win a few games before I try out all like the different jank builds and stuff. But yeah, it's been Ember Power. Let me know what you think about this deck list down below, and yeah, thank you for watching. Sense. They use Dusk Ball to grab a basic. They get Dunsparce, which might suggest that they have oh, I have to switch out, do I? Oh, that's fine. Yeah, I'll just give them Noctowl, I guess. That's fine. So they do, yeah, they did choose Dunsparce, so it's entirely possible that they have an answer to thingy. A to Dunsparce, rather. So we can't use Xerosic, at least. That's something. So my opponent takes another prize. I would ideally like to Surfer this turn. So I think I'm going to promote this dude here. My opponent will be able to use Cruel Arrow, probably on Dodrio, which is a bit unfortunate. Okay, another Xerosic, pretty useless. My opponent puts their hands up because they're like, oh, what can you do now, sort of thing. I mean, Cramorant's still a thing, so that's kind of why I'm still playing the game. Terapagos bench. And then Dodrio. Although I suppose I could have, like, Arven and guaranteed an energy this turn and not have to use Surfer. But there we go, we got an energy anyway. So energy goes down on Terapagos. And then we Surfer into Cram. Don't want to use that yet. And then Fickle Spitting. So yeah, Karaoke Dogi. Got some prizes, finally. 12 minutes left on the clock. We're only now just taking prize cards. And what do we get here? Not much. Arven, Lightning Energy. So my opponent is probably looking to remove Dodrio from play this turn, I'd imagine. So yeah, there's the Dunsparce. We could Xerosic next turn, actually. That might be an idea. Wheezing, that's pretty cool. So unfortunately, because we missed an attack basically that turn, my opponent was just able to get back into the game properly. Energy Search, interesting. I suppose if you don't need the 2 energy, then Energy Search is alright. Energy Retrieval. Youngster, okay. Gets rid of the energy they recovered. Yeah, makes sense, unfortunately. So they get another prize card there. And I would have liked... Yeah, I would have maybe liked to set up another Dodrio, but I'll attach here. And then I could maybe Xerosic this turn, or I could use Arven and try and set up another Dodrio. That might be an idea, actually. Actually, I'll try Xerosic this turn. Because I don't think we have enough time, really, to get another Dodrio going. So my opponent loses half their hand, which is hopefully going to be at least a bit disruptive. Rhyme and Noivern, interesting. So this guy retreats. Promote Terapagos. And then, yeah, I think we just try and two-shot this. So the only problem now, really, is that once he smacks this, we kind of need an answer, because at that point, yeah, it kind of just depends if my opponent can set up another attacker, really, to get rid of this. And that is another attacker, but they still need stuff in their hand, so... Okay, that's Junane. Not a bad idea. Although... yeah, Peckerant just gets them it, so... oh, okay, that's unfortunate. Yeah, that's a bit of a shame. Yeah, because no matter what we do next turn, like, even if we boss KO Peckerant, then they KO something else. Okay, that's fair enough. Well, we did get the energy, which is nice, but yeah, they literally just, they can just boss KO us with Peckerant, at least, so... is it worth doing anything else with Arven? I don't think it is. So we'll just use Crown Opal. But I suppose, like, they still need to find boss for Peckerant, so... Petrant. So I still need to get that set up. And maybe, yeah, I should have invested in a Dodrio. Oh, there's Dodrio. Because we're kind of, like, capped at 180 right now. So yeah, we are protected, at least, by our special effect. But the thing is, we can't actually match them in damage, really, so... yeah, it's going to be a bit weird the next few turns. I think I probably should try and set up another Dodrio. We'll see if there's a Doduo in deck. So there's a Junane. So... yeah. Okay, fair enough. I was going to say, like, surely you would wait until Okidogi was active, and then you could get the poison buff, but I suppose it doesn't technically matter that much. Because, like, really, Fezandipiti should be the one that's attacking. This has a higher retreat cost, so... although, I guess, because we just have to KO one thing, we just try and two-shot this, right? I guess that makes more sense. Then I'll Poffin. Go grab a Doduo. Don't think there's much in deck. There's not a Doduo in deck to grab. Oops. That was a bit silly of me. Yeah, that was a bit silly. Doesn't matter. Arven. Yeah, I will Arven for Rod here. Yeah, there's not much in deck. So this is what I mean by Super Rod being a bit better than Night Stretcher sometimes. So Super Rod. And I will grab the Dodrio line. Get back in energy, actually, as well. Just makes it a bit easier to find them. And then can't use Counter Catcher. Really have to save Counter Catcher. So Terapagos and I guess Xerosic. Yeah, I guess Xerosic. We'll get Doduo. So Fezandipiti hasn't been used at all this game, so that's fine. Like, usually if you get Area Zero down earlier, then Fezandipiti plays a bit more of an important role, but not super important right now. And then we'll use Crown Opal. And then next turn, assuming they don't have a way of powering this up, then we kind of just have Counter Catcher. So that's at least something. So yep, they do the poison fun effect, trying to get me to KO Weezing, but we have counter capture. And yeah, that'll be that. That will actually be game, because we get to use counter capture this turn again. So that was quite lucky. So I did think there was a world where we definitely lost that game. Like, they kind of just needed boss pretty much at any point. Like, because they could have just boss KO'd, yeah, opponent concedes. They could have just boss KO'd Ogerpon with Pletchrin and KO'd it. So, yeah, pretty close game.